Good afternoon. Can I first just check if everyone can hear me okay on the mics today? Yep, thank you. Welcome to the Standards Committee meeting on 13th of January 2025. Thank you for all those attending today. I have some housekeeping announcements to begin with. Please note the location of the fire exits, which are there to the left and, if necessary, behind. Please make sure that your mobile phones and other devices are switched to silent, which I will be doing as well. Thank you very much. And do I have agenda item 1, apologies for absence? I have received no apologies for absence from committee members, so we are here.
So, Chairman, I've received apologies from Councillor Nigel Emery, Councillor Joan Grech and Councillor Tricia Bhutan.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the minutes from the previous meetings. These are pages 3 to agenda packs if you have them. We now need to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of December 2024. Could I have a proposer to approve these minutes? Thank you, Councillor Walters. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lambert. All those in favour, raise your hands. Agreed. That is unanimous.
Chair, can I just check that you're all agreeing the minutes and exempt minutes that were published with your reports pack?
We'll just vote again. All those, is that a proposal for both sets of minutes, yes. Councillor Walters? And thank you. And all those agreed for both sets of minutes, say, raise your hand. Cheers. Thank you. Yes, both sets of minutes. Thank you for that clarification. Item 3, declarations of members' interests. Do any member of this committee have an interest to declare in respect of any item on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Announcements, agenda item 4. Members will be aware that this session forms the second part of the hearing held on 2nd of December 2024 and has been convened to deliver the committee's findings in relation to various complaints stemming from Steyning Parish Council. I will reiterate that owing to previous involvement with and knowledge of matters at Steyning Parish Council, both the monitoring officer and deputy monitoring officer have not been involved in the associated investigations nor advising the committee in relation to their deliberations. Therefore, I trust that no party to the complaints object to their presence today in delivering the committee's findings. I do not believe the monitoring officer has any announcements. Thank you very much. Thank you. So moving on to agenda item 5, and this is the decisions relating to the hearing held on the 2nd of December 2024 in respect of allegations of breaches of the Code of Conduct. Just a bit of note, this is quite lengthy, everyone, so I may need to stop to take a drink of water in between, but otherwise I will be reading everything through from the beginning to the end. By way of reminder, Steyning Parish Council has adopted a code that requires compliance by its members whenever they conduct council business or give the impression they are acting as representatives of Steyning Parish Council. The standards team received 9 code complaints lodged by various Steyning Parish councils, which have been formally investigated by the investigating officer and referred to this committee for determination at a formal hearing per our code handling such arrangements. Members will recall that during the first part of this hearing, we heard from the investigating officer, the independent person, and some of the parties to the complaints. We have taken the opportunity to deliberate in private with the legal advisor and the independent person, and are aware that Steyning Parish councillors expressed their dissatisfaction that our findings would not be delivered until the new year. The additional time, however, allowed us ample opportunity to consider all of the evidence, and this should have been viewed by councillors as needed and necessary for this committee to conduct a thorough and just hearing. I make no apology for this, as the committee required time to consider the detail of these complaints, which was extensive to say the very least, to be satisfied of our findings. I would, however, like to thank all parties for their patience in bearing with us on this occasion. Moving on, to establish whether the Code of Conduct has been breached in respect of each individual complaint, I would make it known that the committee has had regard to the following. 1. Each complaint and associated evidence, that is the complaint form, response to the complaint, and any other associated communications or representations made throughout the relevant investigation. 2. The investigating officer's reports. 3. The Council's code arrangements for dealing with complaints, and not that of the local government association, as the Council has adopted its own arrangements. 4. The Steyning Parish Council Code of Conduct. 5. The oral testimony provided by some of the parties to the complaints at the first part of this hearing on the 2nd of December 2024. 6. The further representations furnished by Councillor Campbell immediately prior to and following the hearing on 2nd of December. 7. A Lever Arch file containing material pertaining to previous code complaints at the request of Councillor Campbell. In this respect, I would like to make it clear that whilst this committee has not determined any complaints beyond the current set before us today, we have considered material pertaining to previous complaints and are aware of that evidence and the long-standing history of unfortunate poor relations between members at Steyning Parish Council. And 8. The advice from both the legal advisor to the committee and the independent person generally and in relation to the imposition of any sanctions. We move on now to the complaints. We will deliver our findings in relation to the complaints where the committee has found no breach first. In relation to the following complaints, that is 1, and here I will mention a new numbering in order that we are relaying them, but also the file reference number, as well as the names associated and the dates with each complaint. So 1. The code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillor Foxwell on the 25th of August 2023, referred to complaint 1 in this statement, file reference 003237. 2. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillors Norcross, Young, Bell, Alexander, Linfield and Lloyd on 13th of September 2023, complaint 2, file reference 003269. 3. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillor Ballance on 13th of September 2023, now referred to as complaint 3, file reference 003270. And 4. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillor Alexander on 30th of August 2023, complaint 4, file reference 003254, as well as 5. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillor Norcross on 26th of May 2024, referred to as complaint 5, file reference 11860. And 6. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Campbell against Councillors Norcross and Young on 6th of June 2024, complaint 6, file reference 11861. With these complaints, the committee found no evidence to substantiate a breach of the Code of Conduct. In particular, the committee considered, in relation to complaint 1, the committee found no evidence of any code breach because the committee could not find any documentation or evidence to substantiate any claim of disrespect, bullying, or harassment. They found that the wording and tone of the emails was respectful and factual and addressed the point in a professional and appropriate manner. In relation to complaint 2, the committee found no evidence of a code breach because no substantial evidence was found within the emails to demonstrate insulting, malicious behavior, or victimization. They found that the overall tone of the emails was acceptable and appropriate in the context of what was being discussed. In relation to complaint 3, the committee found no evidence of a code breach because no specific evidence was found within the documentation supplied to support such a claim. In relation to complaint 4, the committee found no evidence of a code breach because no specific evidence was found within the documentation supplied to support such a claim. With respect to this complaint, where the investigating officer found a breach of the Code of Conduct against Councillor Campbell, where a formal written complaint had not been submitted, therefore, the committee made no findings or determinations on this matter, and this investigatory material was discounted. In relation to complaint 5, the committee found no evidence of a code breach because the meeting was conducted in a fair and proper way, with everyone being allowed to make statements about their motivations and discuss the matter in question. They found, therefore, that the way the meeting was chaired was appropriate in all the circumstances. And in relation to complaint 6, the committee found no material supporting a code breach because throughout the communications the tone and manner was appropriate, respectful, factual, within the remit of their role dealing with information requests, and did not compromise Standing Parish Council or anyone else. Therefore, the committee recommends no finding of a breach in relation to each of these complaints, and that these are determined as dismissed. We will now turn to deliver our findings in relation to the complaints where the committee has found breaches of the Code of Conduct. In relation to the following complaints, that is, 7. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Balance against Councillor Campbell on the 6th of September 2023. Complaint number 7, file reference 003210. 8. A code complaint lodged by Councillor Foxwell against Councillor Campbell on the 22nd of August 2023, referred to as complaint 8 now, file reference 003234. And 9. A code complaint lodged by Councillors Norcross, Young, Linfield, Bell and Lloyd against Councillor Campbell on the 1st of September 2023, complaint 9, file reference 003255. The committee found, with regards to these complaints, evidence to substantiate breaches of the Code of Conduct. I will now take each of the complaints in turn, but before doing so, would mention that the committee had regard not only to the relevant sections contained in the Standing Parish Council Code of Conduct, but also the following definitions and guidance contained in the Local Government Association Guidance on the Model Council Code of Conduct 2020, as I will briefly outline now. The definition of respect reads as follows. As a councillor, I treat other councillors and members of the public with respect. I treat local authority employees and representatives of partner organizations, and those volunteering for the local authority with respect, and respect the role they play. The guidance states that respect means politeness and courtesy in behavior, speech, and in written word. Debate and having different views are all part of a healthy democracy. As a councillor, you can express, challenge, criticize, and disagree with views, ideas, opinions, and policies in a robust but civil manner. You should not, however, subject individuals, groups of people, or organizations to personal attack. Further, that in contact with the public, you should treat them politely and courteously. Rude and offensive behavior lowers the public's expectations and confidence in councillors. Next, the definition of bullying, harassment, and discrimination reads as follows. As a councillor, I do not bully any person. I do not harass any person. I promote equalities and do not discriminate unlawfully against any person. The guidance states that the Advisory, Conciliation, and Arbitration Service, ACAS, characterizes bullying as offensive, intimidating, malicious, or insulting behavior, an abuse or misuse of power through means that undermine, humiliate, denigrate, or injure the recipient. Bullying might be a regular pattern of behavior or a one-off incident, happen face-to-face, on social media, in emails or phone calls, happen in the workplace, or at work social events, and may not always be obvious or noticed by others. Next, the definition of disrepute reads as follows. Disrepute. As a councillor, I do not bring my role or local authority into disrepute. The guidance states as a councillor, you are trusted to make decisions on behalf of your community, and your actions and behaviours are subject to greater scrutiny than that of ordinary members of the public. You should be aware that your actions might have an adverse impact on you, other councillors and or your local authority, and may lower the public's confidence in your or your local authority's ability to discharge your or its functions. For example, behavior that is considered dishonest and or deceitful can bring your local authority into disrepute. You are able to hold the local authority and fellow councillors to account, and are able to constructively challenge and express concern about decisions and processes undertaken by the council, whilst continuing to adhere to other aspects of this code of conduct. I now turn to the committee's findings. In relation to complaint 7, the committee found evidence of a code breach in relation to both limbs, namely respect and bullying and harassment, and believe that the cumulative effect of sending inappropriate emails amounts to bullying. The committee considered several emails involving chains of communications, including an email dated 17th of August 2023, sent by Councillor Campbell to the clerk concerning an inquiry originally contained in an email on 19th July 2023 regarding a long missing swing at the MPF. An email dated 5th of September 2023 sent by Councillor Campbell to the clerk and all standing parish councils in relation to Councillor Campbell's FOI request, and an email dated 16th of August 2023 sent by Councillor Campbell to all standing parish councils in relation to the use of officer time to undertake an administrative task. In an email dated the 3rd of August 2023 that evolves into a chain of emails to 16th of August 2023, Councillor Campbell remarked to the parish clerk, "I ask you to reconsider the appropriateness of this time-wasting and obfuscating practice." The committee also noted a comment in the email dated 17th of August to the parish clerk, where Councillor Campbell states, "The thing that wastes everyone's time is your ongoing obstruction of the provision of timely information." The committee fails to see how Councillor Campbell's comments are respectful given the tone of the language used and the inappropriate highlighting of certain sentences in the email. In addition, the copying in of other councillors in the email of 17th August 23 while emailing the clerk was deemed inappropriate and amounted to bullying because of the negative impact the communications would have on the clerk. The pattern of behaviour is also undermining and demeaning to the clerk, as he had copied in all other standing parish council councillors, and we question the motive for so doing, but can only assume it was to draw any ineptitude to the attention of others. Further, the committee concluded that Councillor Campbell continually challenges the clerk in an unprofessional and overly confrontational manner. For example, in an email of 9 August 2023, in response to an email from the clerk, Councillor Campbell refers to doublespeak and deliberately underlines certain words which were, for example, obscures, disguises, and distorts the meaning of the words in intentional ambiguity. A further example is contained in the email of 5th September 2023, where Councillor Campbell replied to the clerk again, copying in other standing parish council councillors. In that email, Councillor Campbell said to the clerk, "You are also now expressly advocating unlawful decision-making with your references to superfluous debate." In that same email, Councillor Campbell highlighted his remarks in a blue colour. The committee thought these examples demonstrate disrespectful behaviour because of the impact of the comments and the nature of the emphasis that was unwarranted. The committee found that Councillor Campbell's comments, contained in his emails of 9 and 17 August and 5 September, amounted to a personal attack on the clerk, which sought to undermine him. In particular, the remark stating, "You are also now expressly advocating unlawful decision-making with your references to superfluous debate," amount to a personal attack on the clerk. As such, the committee concluded that Councillor Campbell was disrespectful and discourteous in his email communications with the clerk. The committee determined that the content in the emails amounted to disrespect and taken together amount to bullying due to the number of emails with a similar pattern and tone with an overall theme of undermining the clerk. Moving on to complaint 8. The committee found code breaches. For example, Councillor Campbell sent an email to a third-party grant applicant on the 21st of August requesting financial information in relation to a grant application. The committee considered that email and found that it was disrespectful in its tone and language and made negative comments about the clerk. They concluded that it was disrespectful to the third party and the clerk. The committee found that the email was clear evidence of not treating other councillors' offices and members of the public with respect, and the tone and manner of that communication is more in line with bullying, as it was personally critical against the clerk and undermined his position. Also, the committee found that Councillor Campbell's comments were a deliberate challenge and threat to the mutual trust and confidence between the clerk and Councillor Campbell. As cited in the case Mamir v. France 2009, where it references such remarks, that consequently the comments do not just impact adversely on the rights and interests of the clerk as an individual, but on the public interest in good administration. The committee also found there was a code breach in bringing the parish council into disrepute, as evidenced in that same email. The committee identified the following extract written by Councillor Campbell to substantiate these code breaches. In quotes, "John Fulbrack, the parish clerk, is currently, in my opinion, improperly refusing to let me see the financial information which you apparently lodged just before the last meeting. The committee found that this did not show Steyning Parish Council in a positive light, and the way in which it conducts its business. In that email, there was an open criticism, undermining the parish clerk, referencing the clerk's ineptitude, which was a mark of disrespect and inappropriate, and the committee found it inappropriate to criticize a fellow officer in the public arena. As such, the committee concluded that Councillor Campbell brought the parish council into disrepute. Next, in relation to complaint 9, the committee found code breaches and evidence of disrespect and bullying. For example, in emails of 10 and 11 August 2023, Councillor Campbell states, and I quote, "As I have pointed out in another message, back in 2018, SPC successfully buried the truth about the first neighbourhood plan. And, quotes, your subsequent attempts to cover up health and safety issues concerning both adult gym equipment and children's play equipment both failed in October 2022. There was a further example in an email dated 11th of August 2023, where Councillor Campbell writes, in quotes, I am afraid this response is deeply unsatisfactory, as I am sure you must know. We seem to be in Schrodinger's cat territory here. End of quotes. The committee found that Councillor Campbell's analogy to a physics theory of a cat in a box in relation to parish business demonstrated an unusual approach and could be aligned to the viewing of files on a particular matter, and demonstrate negative connotations against the clerk with an implication that he may be hiding something and therefore undermines his position. The committee found that the tone of the emails to be unnecessarily confrontational and hostile towards the clerk and were persistent in nature. Further, the committee found generally across these emails, and others referred to in this report, the number of FOI requests, the sheer volume of emails sent, an apparent distrust of the clerk, and the persistent and personal nature of the emails to be a clear demonstration of disrespectful behavior. Also, given the long period of time in which the emails were sent, and their repetitive persistence, that they amount to bullying and harassment. The committee found that it is the repeated criticism and personal nature of the emails towards the clerk that cause these emails to cross the boundary of acceptability. Therefore, there are findings of breaches in relation to each of these complaints, and the committee will recommend that the following sanctions be adopted by Steyning Parish Council. We add first, in the interest of improving relations between Councillor Campbell and the parish clerk, to enable an effective working relationship which serves community needs and in ensuring public confidence in the administration, we recommend that the Steyning Parish Council adopts appropriate measures from the sanctions outlined below. These sanctions are as follows. The Standards Committee recommends to Steyning Parish Council the following sanctions. 1. That Councillor Paul Campbell provides a formal written apology to the Parish Council and the Clerk within 1 month of the finding of any code breaches by the Standards Committee. 2. Councillor Paul Campbell will not serve on any of the Steyning Parish Council's committees, subcommittees, panels, or working and or steering groups, with the one exception to serve and attend the Steyning full Parish Council meetings. 3. Councillor Paul Campbell will not represent the Steyning Parish Council on any outside body or bodies affiliated with the Council and will be removed from outside appointments. 4. Contact for communication for Councillor Campbell will only be via the Steyning Parish Council Chair or the Vice Chair of Steyning Parish Council. This includes emails, letters, or verbal inquiries and requests for information. 5. Attendance to the office is to be on an appointment basis, arranged in advance with the Chair or Vice Chair, and only to meet the Chair or Vice Chair and to attend the full Parish Council meetings. 6. The Steyning Parish Council procedures, guidelines and policies 1 to 30 must be followed by everyone, and to ensure compliance, Councillor Paul Campbell is required to undertake training. This will be arranged by the Chair of Steyning Parish Council with Horsham District Council's monitoring officer or deputy monitoring officer or relevant officer as instructed by the monitoring officer. Progress reviews will take place at stages to maintain standards, improve performance, and provide credibility. The review of progress to Sanction 7. The review of progress to setting Parish Council procedures, guidelines and policies 1 to 30 may result in extension to sanctions. Sanction 8. These sanctions will be for a period of 16 weeks following the decision by Standing Parish Council to implement the recommendation of the Standards Committee. These sanctions were formulated when considering all of the 3 complaints where code breaches were found and reflect the nature and seriousness of them and are proportionate. Bearing in mind that imposing these sanctions for breach of the Code of Conduct would be an interference with the right of freedom of expression and must be proportionate. The sanctions recommended have a proper objective because they support the public interest in good administration and help to foster public confidence in local democracy. I will make it known that in considering the imposition of sanctions, the committee had regard to the advice of the independent person that any sanctions must be reasonable and proportionate to Councillor Campbell's behaviour. Given that the committee has found code breaches and recommends the imposition of sanctions, it was necessary for us to consider Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights. Article 10(1) provides a right to freedom of expression. This right carries duties and responsibilities. It protects the freedom to hold and express opinions and the right to criticize and speculate. However, Article 10 is a qualified right, meaning that it can be breached if the interference is justified under Article 10(2). Article 10(2) prescribes that interference with the right can be justified where this is prescribed by law and is necessary in a democratic society, pursuant to a legitimate aim. A fair balance must be struck between the demands of the general interests of the community and the protection of an individual's fundamental rights. Therefore, we had regard, first, to Councillor Campbell's protected rights under Article 10, and noted that we are under an obligation to balance Councillor Campbell's rights to freedom of expression against the rights of others, and second, to balancing the aim of upholding public standards in local government through compliance with local authorities' codes of conduct and the importance of upholding members' rights to freedom of expression under Article 10. We accept that both the committee's findings and the imposition of any sanctions constitute a breach of Article 10. However, we have concluded that they are justified under Article 10(2 and adopted the following tests to assist us in our deliberations as adopted in the High Court case of Sanders v. Kingston 2005 and R. Culver v. Public Services Ombudsman for Wales 2012. Therefore, we considered the following 3 questions. Question 1. Was the committee entitled to conclude that Councillor Campbell's conduct breached the Code of Conduct? Question 2. If so, was the finding that Councillor Campbell had breached the code or the imposition of a sanction a breach of Article 10? And question 3. If so, was the breach or imposition of a sanction justified under Article 10(2)? The committee's responses are as follows. Response to question 1. The committee is entitled to conclude that Councillor Campbell's behaviour was in breach of the code, since it amounted to such and is substantiated by the evidence referred to in this report. Councillor Campbell was acting in his official capacity as a councillor when corresponding with the clerk, and his behaviours were disrespectful, inappropriate, discourteous, and on occasions amounted to bullying and brought his office into disrepute. Response to question 2. The committee's findings of a breach and the imposition of any sanctions does constitute a breach of Councillor Campbell's Article 10 rights. However, the primary issue relates to whether the interference can be justified under Article 10(2). Response to question 3. The committee found that, and what is made clear from case law, when considering their justification, is that political expression, or the expression of a political view, attract a higher degree of protection, while expressions in personal or abusive terms do not attract the same level of protection. The comments made by Councillor Campbell were not expressions of a political view, but an unjustified personal and generic attack on the parish clerk that undermined confidence in local government. Whilst it is expected that public officers are to have thicker skins than those not in the public sector, they still expect to be treated with respect and not bullied, etc. Officers should not be subject to personal, unwarranted comments on email or any other form. The comments made by Councillor Campbell strayed beyond what is acceptable in terms of respect, and on occasions their persistence and personal nature amounted to bullying. It is important for local politicians to ensure that comments they make can reasonably and properly be regarded as raising issues of a legitimate topic of political debate, rather than an attack, as seen here, and as outlined earlier on evidence dates after July 2023, and contained within the investigating officer's report, leading to a breach of Setting Parish Council's Code of Conduct. The committee's findings interfere with Councillor Campbell's rights, but fulfill a pressing social need, and are proportionate to the aim of protecting the clerk and upholding the standard regime. In addition, the committee is satisfied that these sanctions were the minimum required to uphold the public confidence in the standards regime and to protect the clerk. The committee deemed that the breaches were serious in nature, persistent, and had caused discomfort and a negative impact to the recipients, mainly the clerk. Following is a brief summing up of this analysis. It is apparent that infighting amongst Steyning Parish councillors has existed for some time, and that the source of conflict is deep-rooted, and there is, in particular, the need for councillors to try to work together in a convivial and professional manner to act in the best interests of and serve the constituents of Steyning. These are serious complaints which evidences code breaches. Sadly, they do not appear to be isolated one-off incidents, and many of the communications, as referred to in this summary, are deeply unpleasant and personal and are aimed at the clerk. You will appreciate that the clerk undertakes an important official role for the parish council, and that a disproportionate amount of his time is consumed by dealing with communications from Councillor Campbell. The detriment to Steyning Parish Council as a whole was noted. We retain the view that despite behaviour that we have deemed to be in breach of the Code of Conduct, we believe that all parties, including Councillor Campbell, were, from their perspectives, acting on behalf of the residents of the parish of Steyning. I note this because I would like to encourage all parties to feel that they can continue to represent residents as parish councillors while abiding by the Code of Conduct henceforth. In addition, the committee appreciates that many Steyning Parish Council councillors spend their time reviewing, responding, and dealing with many communications from Councillor Campbell, which may take them away from parish council business and serving their community. In closing, for the sake of transparency, I would mention that the legal advisor advised that this committee must identify evidence to substantiate any findings, to consider the rights of relevant councillors under Article 10, and the requirement to justify interference with those rights, and drew our attention to the following case law. R. Calver versus Adjudication Panel for Wales and the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales 2012, and Heesum versus Public Services Ombudsman for Wales 2014. Therefore, again in concluding, the committee recommends the following. 1. No findings of code breaches in relation to complaints 1 to 6 as numbered in this report. And 2. Findings of code breaches in relation to complaints 7 to 9 as numbered in this report. And the recommendation to Steyning Parish Council of the sanctions as mentioned earlier. Committee members, do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Lambert, and a seconder. Are we all agreed with this report? Yeah. Agreed? Thank you. I understand the monitoring officer will produce decision notices reflecting the outcome of these proceedings and will write to the parish council with any recommendations in relation to the imposition of sanctions. That concludes the delivery of our findings in relation to these complaints, and we will turn to the next agenda item now. Furthermore, I would just like to add that no further submissions will be considered on this matter by this committee henceforth. Turning to urgent business, I believe that Councillor Bainham would like to add something now.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. You may remember at the last committee meeting, at the hearing, I made some rather general comments at the end of the meeting about the inordinate costs in both time and money on this council by complaints emanating from Steyning Parish Council. I would just like to reiterate those comments and state publicly that I intend to bring forward proposals to limit the ability of Steyning Parish Council to escalate complaints to Horsham Council without going through prior mediation processes before doing so. And secondly, that I also wish to bring forward proposals to ensure that the costs of investigating and managing complaints which do come to HDC from SPC, the costs would be met by Steyning Parish Council itself and not fall as a burden on the wider council taxpayers of the district. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bainham. As there is no further urgent business, I therefore now declare this meeting closed.